Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointing Out Sharp. Today we're taking a look at a Spanish standard Modell bayonet. Now there are two types of standard Modell bayonets. There's the German manufacturer ones and the Spanish manufacturer ones. This is one of the latest Spanish ones, and you'll notice it is missing quite a few components. So I bought this one really cheap online because it's missing so much. And I'm hoping to be able to track down the parts at a gun show in a couple of weeks. We'll see how I go. But it's missing the grips, the screws, flash guard, and press button. Pull it out so we can take a look. You'll see it's very heavily blued, so it is quite difficult to show off on camera without a reflection. Now, these are very often mistaken for just your standard cut-of-the-mill German Zeitengewehr 84/98 bayonet. So that's pretty much what it is. It's just a copy of that. But these were manufactured in Spain for their 8mm standard Modell short rifles, being the Model 1943 and Model 1944. Now, I don't know who actually manufactured these. I know it was a manufacturer in Spain, and it wasn't the usual suspects, being their national arsenal, because it doesn't have any of the markings. So these were made in a rush, in a hurry, to a low standard, so they're probably made by someone other than their primary arms producers. Generally, Spanish bayonets are very good, or Spanish bayonet manufacturers are very good at putting their manufacturer's marks on them. Anyway, so I don't know who made them, I don't know how many were made. All I know is they were made late to World War II, like, 43, 44, 45, around those years. But we'll jump into the history very quick. So prior to this, or prior to World War II really, Spain had their civil war, and during the civil war they were using a whole range of different weapons. They were using their old 1893 Mausers with 1893 bayonets, and their 1916 short rifle bayonets as well. And they were also using a number of Spanish standard Modell German rifles, which were essentially K98Ks, with the German standard Modell bayonet, which is identical to what we have here, except it wouldn't have had any markings on it whatsoever, and the blade would have been in the white. Well, rather, the only marking would have been an O underneath the blade just here. This is a Portuguese export version, so I don't have the German one to show you. So that was what they were using, well, at least one side was using during their civil war. And then once World War II got started, they started rearming because they downsized their military at the end of their civil war down to about 150,000 soldiers, and that's really all the arms they had stockpiled as well. But 1941, we got the 1941 Bolo bayonet, and that was made to fit their older rifles. Pretty much any of the Mauser rifles these will fit to. Some of them require an adapter if it's a Mauser bayonet with a higher muzzle ring, like the 1941. The 41 was trash, no one liked it, but hey, they used it. And in 1943, we got the Model 1943 Mauser bayonet, made by their national arsenal. I'll do a later video on this one here, really nice example. I've heard these were made for the Air Force, but I really don't know. Now, these were expensive to manufacture, they were made to a good quality and very high standard, and they were slow to manufacture. During World War II, they really realised that they needed to expand the size of their military in case the war spread into Spain, which thankfully it didn't. So they decided to increase the size of their army from 150,000 to 750,000. So they started manufacturing these Spanish standard Modell bayonets, and as I said, they're made to a poor standard. They're a lot flimsier, weaker, a bit smaller than the German ones. And we don't know who actually made them, but there are a couple of publications stating that they were made as like an emergency, what's the word, kind of like a German ersatz bayonet, being like a supplemental bayonet. So something that was made to fill a purpose rather than to be nice. Now, these rifles and bayonets actually stayed in service for some years. It wasn't until about 20 years later that Spain started replacing their K98K style of rifles, being their Model 1943s and 44s and earlier Mauser rifles, with Setmis, or the Setmi C. So the Setmi C Bolo bayonet is what started to replace these in '64, but I dare say they would have remained in service for a long time after that, because you're not going to equip an entire army overnight and then you're probably going to retain them in a reserve capacity. I don't know if they have like a National Guard or a militia there or anything like that. And they probably would have stockpiled them and maybe even retained them for ceremonial purposes as well. I don't know. Maybe they're also retained for police or gendarmerie or whatever other kind of organisations they have in Spain. I'm not too well versed in Spain in general. But all that aside, we'll jump into the construction, and what really needs to be said about the construction is the differences that you see between the German 84/98 and the Spanish copy. So the first version, being the German standard Modell, is a German manufactured 84/98, identical to what we have here. This is Portuguese contract, you can tell by the serial number on the pommel. But German one's identical to this, blades are in the white, completely unmarked, as I said before, except for that O underneath the blade. The Spanish manufacturer ones, there are quite a few differences. So the keen eye might notice that the blade is actually a little bit thinner than what you get on the German one, not by too much. And then when you turn it this way, it's a little bit thinner again. Now, having a look at the fuller here, it looks like the fuller has actually been cut as opposed to being drop pressed in place. Usually a fuller is imparted into a blade by a tool called a fuller, and that's something used to like drop forward or swage it, and yeah, that's how it's manufactured. However, it's been cut, and that's usually a sign of poor, cheap manufacturing. Then moving down to the crossguard, you'll see the standard Modell is a little bit chunkier. On top, we've got striations running vertically, so not nearly as well polished and finished, and just the corners and edges aren't very well done either. Now, obviously, I can't comment on the grips or the flash guard or the screws because I don't have those, but the internals look very similar to what you'd see on one of these. Now, we'll jump down to the pommels. You'll see our German pommels have a straight line going through the grips, while our Spanish standard Modell is sort of like curved and rounded, if I can get that to show on camera. Further, when you come down to like the eagle head, it's a lot sharper and more pronounced on the German one, whether the Spanish is a lot rounded and a bit fatter and bigger in general. But when you come down to the base of the pommel, they've both got a TO style of mortise. Surprisingly, the Spanish one has a wider pommel than the German. And you probably already noticed it has a very dark and rich blue. It's pretty much black. So that's the construction of the bayonet. I'll quickly go through the constructions of the scabbard as well, because there are a couple of minor differences. So first of all, the scabbard in general is a little bit thinner, which is to be expected. It actually has no throat, as you'll see here. Sorry about the frog. So these have like a removable throat that's held in by a screw. This has the screw, but the screw appears to be holding in the internal retention spring, which puts pressure on the blade and holds the blade inside the scabbard. Now the frog stud as well is, well, this one's loose, which is not ideal. I don't even know if I can tighten that. But the frog stud is a little bit thinner. This Portuguese one originally would have had our two lines top and bottom, but they have worn away with time. The length appears to be the same, and they both have a ball fennel down the ends, and the blue isn't too different. It's a little bit darker on the Spanish than it is on the German. Other than that, very, very similar. And I imagine, I haven't actually seen photos, but based on the type of frog stud, I imagine the Spanish would be using the same style of frog as the Germans, something similar to this. If I can find an image, I'll put it up now. Now, that's the construction of the bayonet. I've actually been chasing one of these for a very, very long time because they are always mistaken for the German ones, and they sell for stupid prices on eBay because everyone's like, oh, it's a German World War II K98 bayonet. Oh, I know exactly what that is. And it's like, no, mate, you don't have a clue what it is. It's not worth as much, and it's not as nice. I want it because it's unique. But yeah, they always seem to sell for the German prices because no one really seems to know what they are. Anyway, that complaint aside, we'll jump into the markings finally. And one thing I like about these is they are very generous with markings. I don't really know the significance of a lot of them, but they have quite a few, which I like. So we'll start with the left cross guard. We've got, looks like a PR8. I don't know what that stands for. Maybe that's the model or the rifle or the manufacturer. I don't know. Hopefully someone in the audience knows, and you can comment below and educate the rest of us. Then on the right, we have a serial number, 5808. I don't know if later ones come with a letter prefix. I've only ever seen the 4 numbers, so I have no idea what's going on there. Then internally, we've got another number here. I wonder if that's a manufacturing number or something like that. Again, I really don't know. And that's really about it. There's no proof marks or anything like that. No manufacturer's marks. Not that you'd expect to see them. The spine of the blade as well is a little bit, I want to say rounded, but it's more like tapered. Very crudely finished, as you can kind of see there. But those 3 markings are really all you get. In my mind, there were more. That's why I said they had stacks. And I don't actually have any markings on the scabbard whatsoever. So, whoops. If you do come across these, now you know what they are. They're not a reproduction or a fake or anything like that. They're just a Spanish standard Modell bayonet, and they were made to fill a purpose very, very quickly during the Second World War for Spain. That's all I've got for you today, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed researching this video. I don't know why, but World War II Spanish history just seems to appeal to me for some reason. If I've made any mistakes, as per always, guys, please feel free to comment below. And if you have any links or anything like that, or any great source material, let us know what you got as well. Other than that, thanks for watching.